Good afternoon. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Yuba City City Council on August 12th, 2026 to order. City Council meetings are open to the public attendance and participation. This meeting is being held in our council chambers and is also accessible via Zoom at the link that is identified in the agenda. If you're attending remotely and wish to comment on a specific item, please electronically raise your hand. Email comments sent and received by the city clerk at least 24 hours before the meeting were distributed to the City Council prior to the meeting. Please note that our City Council meeting agendas are now available in Spanish and Punjabi. In addition, worldly translation services are available to the public both in person and via Zoom. Just scan the QR code on the agenda to follow the meeting in your preferred language. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Boomgarden?
Here.
Vice Mayor Pasquale?
Here.
Councilmember Cole?
Here.
Councilmember Kirchner?
Here.
And Councilmember Shaw is absent.
All right, please rise and join with me on the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item number 1 on our agenda this afternoon is public communication. This is the appearance of interested citizens. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on action items appearing on the agenda at the time that they are called. Public comment on any other items within the scope of the city's jurisdiction, including items that are not listed on this agenda, will be considered at this time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Members of the public submitting written requests at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will be allotted 5 minutes to comment per speaker. Repetitive comments may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. Do we have any comments from the public on items that are not on today's agenda? Not seeing any. Savannah?
No public comment online.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Our next item is item number 2, public safety concerns at San Brandon Park. And this will be started with our city manager, Robert Bendorf.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So before you today is an item related to San Brandon Park, as you've seen on the agenda. I did want to make one quick technical change. It was just a number error. On the second page of the staff report, it says 365,000. That should read 265. It's reflected 265 throughout the rest of the document. It just transposed a number. That was it. So before you today, obviously to talk about San Brandon Park, to be quite honest with you, I wish I wasn't. Having to bring this before the council, our community members, et cetera. I guess in the best of both worlds, but I feel very strongly we don't have much of a choice. And you'll see some of the background of what we're talking about today, but you'll also see recommendations from staff, and it's time to do something. And I think for the overarching discussion here is for me being your city manager, which I appreciate the opportunity, we had to bring something before you. While some of these recommendations may seem a little draconian, quite frankly, I don't care when it comes, that's me personally. I know other people may feel differently, but when it comes to the safety of our employees, which is in jeopardy on a regular basis, and equally as important, if not more important, the safety of our community members. And we just can't let that continue. And so I'm a little bit passionate about this. I used to go to that park when I was a kid. And to see what it was then and what it is today, it's time to think a little bit different about how we approach those services. So having said that, you know, it's not in my initial slides, but when we talk about what we have related to San Brandon Park, I wanted to make sure that you were aware of everything that we're doing with our parks. And people say, geez, you know, you're recommending maybe closing down a park or make it a limited use or on a temporary basis. But regardless, we'll talk about all those things here as you see on this slide. But it's important to recognize that our parks, we have 17 community parks in Yuba City. We're operating those parks with only 9 parks maintenance workers. However, the money that your council allocates every year to parks is the second highest in the entire city for parks and recreation, only behind police and fire. So you're allocating resources, they do work, but it's an expensive business when you're looking at 255 acres of parks with amenities and water features and all of those things. It is difficult to manage. Even if we had a staff higher than that, as you know, we just vacated 3 positions out of parks with this last budget that we adopted. So not easy. And then they also manage all the other facilities as well. So San Brandon obviously is our biggest park, over 8.5 acres, and it's been around the longest, I believe. Just a couple pictures of sort of the east area of the park, and then sort of the middle where the play structures are. This is an overhead, and as you can see, let me see if I get the right button. Yay! So there's the pickleball courts and tennis courts. Here's the parking area that's located on the north side of the property, and here is your east parking lot area where we share kind of a part of a driveway with the school. And then here is one of our wells that's located on the back of the property that's fenced. Behind this area here, just off the slide, you see part of it there, that's Larry Givicki. Their business backs up there. We have the bocce ball courts. We have obviously some play structures here in the middle. You can't see them very well with this map, but you get the picture. Again, Yuba City's largest community park. Those are all the amenities. And we do reservations now. Make no surprise about it, or make no surprises here in our discussion. And reservations have dropped by over 50% over the last several years. And we hear feedback that people just don't want to go there because of the environment. So a little bit of what I talked about already. And again, parks aren't their only responsibility. They have other responsibilities with some landscaping and other items in the city. But they're keeping care of 255 acres of park, everything that goes along with that, from broken fountains to water features that a park may go bad, et cetera. We've got to clean up, we've got to order parts, we have to do the installation. I mean, the list goes on and on, let alone cleaning things up. So what are our current conditions at San Brandon? So the reservations continue to decline, as I mentioned. The park conditions continue to deteriorate. I've been by there no fewer in the last probably 6 months, no fewer than 50 to 60 times. And every time I go there, it is a place that I wouldn't bring my children to. No way. So we've had individual transients, drug abusers occupying the park and amenities, discouraging use of the park by others. And just to give you an example, I was there maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there was 3 folks who had all their belongings with them by a picnic bench, and he's got probably about 4 or 5, maybe 2-foot long pieces of wood, and right by the bathrooms there where the public is, et cetera, he's swinging a large axe, trying to chop wood in the middle of the park. But that's the type of random stuff, unsafe stuff, that continues to go on there. We don't have the ability to, with our police department or any of the other resources here in the city. As you know, we just eliminated or deleted 30 positions citywide, and Chief Runyon will talk about some of that with the police department. We can't have somebody there all the time. People need to police or behave themselves. But swinging the axe in the middle of a community park, everybody should know that's not a good situation, and don't ever do that, but there it was. So our police department, I'm just going to give you a brief. You see it on the slide. I'm not going to read every word to you, but 139 calls for service by the police department in just a 5 or 6 month period, or 5 month period technically. 139 calls. Everything from arrests to citations, vandalism, domestic violence. Over the years, they've done concentrated sweeps at the park. They've sent a lot of resources there, but it tends to populate with those that aren't following rules. So, and you can read about the recent stolen vehicle incident there as well. Person had an outstanding warrant out of Los Angeles that was involved in this mess. And then that went on to create a disturbance at a local business where one of the cars crashed into one of our businesses. And again, started there at San Brandon Park. So having said that, I'm gonna pause there because I think some of the details, and especially from his leadership perspective of the police department, I would ask Chief Runyon to come up and provide some additional information.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So on this slide here, there's some data, and I'll just kind of talk about these points for some context. So there's the last 4 years on the left side there, and you can see there the calls. That's the calls for service each year that San Brandon Park has been to our attention. So those calls include any kind of reason that someone calls the police department and a call is entered. It also includes our self-initiated activity, which we track now as well. So traffic stops, things like anything there, security checks that our officers are putting out, those are getting logged as calls for service. What's important to note here is you can see the amount of work just in 2026, 59 reports, 21 bookable arrests, 22 citations, 15 municipal codes cited. And on the far right column, it is the top address for calls for service in the entire city of Yuba City. And unfortunately, it's almost had that title 3 years in a row. Last year, it was the second. So, and just to give you an idea, San Brandon Park, we have 5 patrol beats in our city, and San Brandon falls within beat 4, which is typically our busiest beat in the entire city. Last year in 2025, beat 4 had over 10,000 calls for service, so it's a lot. But again, when you have one area that has that many problems, but it's also an area that demands so much more attention of our police department, we simply can't be there all the time is the point I'm trying to make here. It takes a lot of time out of our day. And we're constantly, again, proactively, it's not just the calls that come in, it's our officers going out there and checking on things. And there's some other issues I'll kind of talk about in these next slides related to that as well. But again, you just looking down the columns, you can see the fairly consistency in numbers, but I think this year we're on pace to beat out the last few years, which isn't a good thing. So this is just kind of I want to throw in some general stats just to kind of show you the volume of calls that we're having in the city just as a whole, and kind of what our homeless liaison officer is doing himself. So total calls for service, and these numbers may look a little different than what Robert had on those previous slides. I just ran these yesterday, so they're a little more up to date. But as of yesterday, we have 24,000 calls for service in the city of Yuba City. We'll land somewhere between 40 and 45,000 calls a year. That's 35 patrol officers and 1 homeless liaison officer that handle the bulk of those calls for service. So that's a lot, covering 7 days a week, that many calls for service. When it comes to our enforcement of San Brandon Park, a lot of the issues there are the real bad issues that we don't want to see, the domestic violence, a couple overdoses, but a lot of it is municipal codes and what we call more quality of life type crimes, which are important, but when we start to talk about staffing issues, that tends to fall off a little. Our priorities get shifted towards the things that we absolutely need to deal with, the felonies and stuff that are happening in our town that need to be addressed, the emergencies. But what I'd like to point out is that you can see right there, we've written just this year 489 camping citations. That is a lot. Now that's obviously not San Brandon because camping itself is not necessarily the problem there. That's throughout the city. So that's a large volume of citations issued. And within our department. So in each one of those citations that's issued, what you also have to understand too, those require reports. Those have to get filed with the DA's office. There's a lot of work that goes along with just writing that ticket, not with just our department, but with the DA's office and the volume of work that we're giving them on these, again, lower level crimes that are quality of life issues in our community. So we're taking a proactive stance against this, but it's a constant battle is what I'm trying to get across here. You could just look at traffic stops. I mean, 7,600 traffic stops our officers have made since January 1st. That is, again, a large volume of work. They're out there hustling. They care about these problems. But when you start adding all those things up and you think about San Brandon, it is, yes, our highest call volume park in town, but it is one of 17 parks and one of many other areas that need a lot of our attention. And it's just, we cannot be there all the time. When it comes to talking about the quality of life type crimes, specifically to San Brandon, I think what you have to recognize is our issue there isn't the overnight camping issues. That doesn't happen there. Our officers go through that park at night and clear it out if there's anyone there. It's the daytime activities. But a lot of those daytime activities are legally permitted. They may be unsightly, but someone being there that is unsightly in their things is not necessarily in itself a crime. So sometimes it's just kind of pushing people along, hoping to, get the park meant for what it's used for. But unfortunately, loitering itself in the park does not constitute a crime, which a lot of times is what we're dealing with when we go out there. But moving down below, I'll just highlight some of these things. We have one homeless liaison officer right now. He happens to be back here in the back. He's doing an awesome job, but he's one person. He works 4 days a week. He himself is, as you can see there, 167 camping sites in 4 months, because he's only been in that spot for about 4 months. 282 misdemeanor charges, 199 arrests, and 150 reports. That is a large volume of work for one person. And, you can, when he takes a few days off, I hate to say it, but you certainly notice when he does, and because people are taking advantage of the situation that he's not around. I rode with him for a couple hours last week. And it was just a busy morning and 2 hours of hitting the constant hot spots. And that's just a daily routine he does, but not to mention getting called away for other things. And, maybe a morning you missed that spot or that. He's up against a lot, and he spends time at San Brandon almost every day trying to help with these issues. So I mentioned the staffing and the quality of life crimes, so I just want to touch on this. This is obviously known information to the council, but in the last year and a half, we've had 16 total positions we've unfunded at the police department. 8 of them being sworn positions, one of them being, we used to have 2 HLOs, and we're down to 1, and I already talked about the impact of that. Our CSOs, they deal with a lot of the parking issues and things that could be related to San Brandon Park type issues, but we've went from 6 to 3 of those. So it's just, again, the volume of work is still here for our folks, but we're doing it with less, and we just can't get to all these things. And again, we have to prioritize what are the emergencies versus these quality of life crimes that we all see and we all care about, but we're certainly putting the effort forth when you kind of look back again on the amount of citations we've written for these types of crimes. I think our folks are doing their job, but it's been an uphill battle. So any questions, or just hand it back?
Do you want to keep going with the presentation, or a couple? Okay.
So thank you, Chief. So fire department, no different. They're obviously experiencing in the last 17 months 80 medical aid calls. We've had 4 overdose calls that result in the bathrooms. And listen, so many people have told me about their experiences there, that they go to use the bathroom, but the doors are locked. They knock on the door, maybe 15 or 20 minutes later, a group of 3 or 4 people come out. I don't think they're necessarily using the bathroom, but as you can guess. But barbecues are being used as heaters. And you can see what's happening in there. And this is folks that are telling me what they've observed at our bathrooms, that your city council over the years have made amenity improvements to that park to improve its environment, to make it safer, more patrols by the PD, private security hired to go through there, and that's still happening. our parks employees spending extra time there, and code enforcement. I mean, the list goes on and on. And, we've heard a little bit about, well, the city's just, needs to spend more resources there. What other darn resources can we send, right, for a community park that is the highest call volume per address in the city of Yuba City? If we do, that means they're ignoring other parts of the city. And it's not cheap either to keep throwing resources. But your city council, previous city councils have done quite the effort in making sure that the park has nice amenities, that our parks employees, even though they're shorthanded, they're working their tails off trying to make sure it's in a decent condition for those that do use it, but it's fighting an uphill battle. And if there's some magic solution there somewhere, I'd love to hear it, but it needs to be a great one, and probably in combination with about a dozen others. So community concerns that we've heard, heard a lot, talked to a lot of folks about some of their concerns at San Brandon. Probably the one that bothered me the most related to our children that go to school at next door. This, not from me. This is not from a regular citizen observation. This is coming from our school district. As you can read there, I'll just pick out a couple again. I'm not going to read every one of them to you, but students regularly encounter substance abusing individuals before and after school, been harassed by the individuals. Some have attempted to climb the fence over into the school property. Suspected drug transactions. They see sexual activity occurring along the fence line or somewhere in the park. Very aggressive behavior, fights. So animals has been a problem there as well. So again, you can see this, and yeah, they're finding drug paraphernalia, not only the glass pipes or a syringe, but they hide drugs there, like maybe tape them to the underside of a park bench or whatever it may be. If one of our kids gets a hold of something like that and unfortunately doesn't know what it is, even by touching it these days, can put our children in jeopardy. So, sorry, I'm going to go back, but this is the one probably that, affecting the whole community that bothers me, but our children that are going to school there next door. Anyway. Individual park user concerns. Talked to numerous people, and these are some of the things. I had somebody else tell me about the axe. They saw the person swinging the axe as well. So anyway, but public urination, not using the bathrooms. Sometimes they can't get to the bathrooms. So public urination occurring throughout the park. There's a lot of food handout events that are scheduled there now. Don't know who it is, but I've observed numerous food handout events. And then there's a large congregation and that hangs around and get food for the day, et cetera. Unleashed dogs, litter, and park users. So somebody told me as well that when they're there enjoying the park, whether it's at a bocce ball court, pickleball court, or whatever, they go to use the restroom, they have a rule amongst their group that they won't go there without two people. And they know they have to wait a while to get people out of the bathroom so they can use it, but they won't go there without somebody with them because they feel it's so unsafe. Our Parks Department, again, this is directly from them of what they've observed and what they see. And again, not going to bring everything to light on this slide. I'm not going to read it verbatim. But as you can see there, the bathrooms, the city got a lot of money to put into those bathrooms, and they're being destroyed already. And we spend a ton of resources there trying to prevent that from happening, but it still continues to happen. Anyway, you can see all of the stuff there, and I go back to the overdoses. We've had 4 in the last 6 months at the park. 1 person died. The other 3 overdoses, I believe they got a Narcan stick or 2, and I believe they survived. The other 3 did. But 1 person died from an overdose there at the park. Just a couple of pictures. Doesn't indicate the whole problem, but that's just under the North Pavilion. And that is a regular site there. I see it. This is from our PD, I believe. But again, belongings are hung up on the fence as a clothesline. You see this happening. If you go to the back part of the property where our well is, And I've walked back there several times. The smell of feces and urination is so bad because they use that back part of the park that way. And again, we have children and families using that park. Luckily, a lot of them don't venture to the very back. They stay up front, but still not acceptable. So we've talked about this a little bit already. Our parks employees continue to encounter unsafe conditions. I've seen our police department do their work out there. They continue to do it. They've had targeted enforcement days, but it's, and people say, well, geez, you need to give folks resources that they could use, and maybe that'll help remove them from the park, et cetera. We do that, and as our homeless liaison, Officer Eberly will tell you, they offer those services, but a big group of them are just saying, I don't want your services, right? And you can only refer them and give them that option, so if you can't force them to water. So that is happening on a regular basis, that they're just refusing services and because they want to do what they want to do. So we continue that outreach, and we continue working with our Sutter County partners as well. And, well, you see the results. So our recommendations, we've discussed this a lot over the last few months. You know, when we first indicated that we wanted to do a little due diligence, gather our facts, numbers, figures, et cetera, there's a lot of work to do. You know, when you're trying to put together some type of effort to make sure that this is safe for folks, or what are our best options, we had to go through all of those based upon the data that we were seeing, and then we have to start putting together price lists of what it'll cost to do all that. Now, some people might say, oh, wow, you're asking for $230,000 up to $265,000. We don't think it'll be that much. Not all of it'll hit the general fund either. But yeah, we are. And I can tell you, as well as our risk manager, Ms. Wakefield, and our attorney will tell you, one claim, and that $200,000 gets eaten up faster than you can snap your fingers. And that's just one claim. So it's a risk management issue for us as well. So we're trying to avoid putting the city in a liability type situation, which it's bad enough now. Yeah, absolutely. But we're here doing something about it. And I know your city council and past have tried really hard to do their best. However, it's just crept up over the years, and you can see that it's difficult to manage. Some people will say, geez, spend that $230,000 for another cop. All right. I'll recommend it. If your council wants to bite off and add another police officer, that'll fund them for 1 year. This is one-time money. What do we do for the following year? You have a $2.2 million general fund structural deficit, so that'll cover 1 year. What about the following year and the year after that? As we can see, this isn't a 365-day problem. It's continuing, and it's continuing in a few sites across Yuba City. But we can't be everywhere all the time. You know, I was just talking with the Sutter County CAO, Steve Smith, and they were really taken aback at the vandalism that's occurring to their property. And as you know, they had to shut down the library for a little bit because somebody vandalized the air conditioning units there. And again, can't be there all the time, can't have security there all the time, police officers there all the time, but six-figure fix to these things. We have holes being cut in the fence at Blackburn Tally Park now, and folks are getting inside there to go hang out. There's nothing there that they can steal, a little dirt and chalk maybe, or somebody leaves a baseball behind. But again, we're having to go in and fix those things, and it's costing the city money. So at some point, we need to decide to move forward on something like this, at least our recommendation, to make sure that, hey, the culture's shifted a little bit. And we want to make sure our community is safe and they can enjoy the amenities that your council and previous councils have approved and put forward. So having said that, you see the recommendations there. You'll see them again. A fiscal impact, about $230,000. Your alternatives, take no action. San Brennan Park remains open. Staff continuing to enforce laws and with limited resources on our parks maintenance staff. We can contract for private security. We can put them there to be permanently stationed. It's going to cost money on an ongoing basis. And again, if security runs into problems, they have to call the police department anyway. Any of their options the council may deem adequate. So those are the recommendations. Again, I will leave those up. And Mr. Mayor, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And I know Jim would be too. And we have other staff as well. So thank you for letting me make that presentation. Sorry if I was a little bit energetic.
I think the word is passionate. That's what I'm going to use. I have a letter sent to me that I think I would add to the city manager's comments, and then we'll open it up for questions from the council. To whom it may concern, this was sent to me today. As a local business in our community since 1986, and specifically to Yuba City since 1995, the health and safety of our community and local businesses is imperative to our city. We strive to be a business that is highly involved in giving back and making our community better as a whole. For years, we have communicated with the city officials on struggles that we face at San Brandon Park, which borders our business to the east. Our largest concerns involve the cutting of the fence line, transients jumping our fence to walk through and access Highway 99, and theft of items in our customers' vehicles and our own vehicles while being stored at our service department. We have always had an in-person security walking the lot at night, which has deterred many situations. We also recently had to install cameras to assist with any issues. Walking our lot on the daily basis, we see the pickleball courts constantly full, quote unquote, or not quote, but in parentheses, awesome. However, the actual park is hindered by transients covering the tables in any shade area that's available. From what we have witnessed, the large field area is not being utilized by families due to safety concerns. Our children even attend an annual church sports camp that used to be at San Brandon Park. The volunteers would arrive extra early to comb the field for needles. This camp has since been moved to Hillcrest Park because the transients were such an issue. This is not a positive family environment for the citizens of our city. Because of this giant park, one of the largest in our city, is not being used to its full potential. Feel free to contact me for any additional input. And this was sent to me by Nancy Elrod Givicki of Givicki Ford, Kia, and Pink October. So I felt it was important. There's a neighboring business in addition to the school, in addition to the folks that want to use our pickleball courts, our skate park. I know in the past, Beeler's also a nearby neighbor who has experienced issues as well. But before I have any other comments, I'd like to turn it over to Vice Mayor Pasquale, whose district San Brandon lies in, for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mayor. 3 weeks ago, I did a ride-along with PD on a Friday night. We were there no less than 5 times. One was a felony arrest for a known drug dealer with an outstanding warrant, and he went to jail. The others were multiple people having arguments and disruptive. I witnessed this 4 or 5 times. And the clear fact of the matter is this is not a homeless issue. This is a lawless issue. People not wanting to follow our norms of our society, and it's appalling. Time and time again, I commend the chief and his staff for putting up with this on a day-to-day basis. And I've lived in this community my whole life. I went to Gray Avenue. I used San Brandon Park my whole life, and I will not go over there any longer. It's unsafe. We have to do something, and I think is what has been laid out is the appropriate approach to this, because we have to take our community back. Lawless activity will not be tolerated in Yuba City, and this is clearly what this is, lawless activity. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Cole.
Thank you so much, Robert, Jim, staff, for doing all this work and enduring what you have over there. I have a couple questions first. Is there any possible way to like get around the wording of this loitering term? Because frankly, there's a difference between a family sitting at a park and somebody who's a vagrant and causing societal breakdown. And then the second question would be, sorry if you actually mentioned this, Robert, but the reservations, would the pickleball court still be under reservations or like use of the park, or 100% closed?
Yeah, so we've outlined some of that in the staff report.
Okay.
I didn't want to PowerPoint you to death here. So, but as you see there with limited exceptions, subject to reevaluation every 90 days. One of the concepts, for instance, Councilmember Cole, is that for those that want to play pickleball, they come and they pay a deposit fee. They get the money back, but in return, they get an access card. And when we put up the gates, they would have an access card to go play pickleball or whatever. Not going to cost them anything. Again, it's just a refundable deposit for the card. And they can go swipe their card, bring up to, we're still working that out, but maybe, I think it was, where's Ann? In search of one to two guests or something like that with them. Because a lot of folks that play pickleball there will have a friend that they want to bring. But we'll set up those terms. We have a little time to work on that. So yes, pickleball, we're looking at some type of ability for the skate park as well as bocce ball so people can enjoy that.
And maybe
And
a dog park.
Yeah, and reservations. So reservations will continue. We have that program now, and it'll continue even after we put fencing up, et cetera, and they'll be able to have access. And hopefully we can increase the number of reservations that have dwindled so much over the last many years. So I'll let Chief Runyon answer the other part of the question.
So in regards to loitering, loitering in itself is not really a crime. It's the loitering with intent for drugs or drug sales, things like that, or prostitution. Certainly, we know there's drug issues with a lot of those individuals over there, but you know, the drug offense in itself is usually what we're going to go after. So I think we have to remember that under normal circumstances, what do people do when they go to a park? They bring stuff and hang out, and that's essentially what they're doing until they step over to that unlawless behavior. And again, the unsightly portion of it just makes people feel unsafe. And that's the issue there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just speak to this particular situation and try not to get off topic, because the homelessness is clearly an issue in our town and in the state. But and I'll speak from a citizen's point of view, frankly, because I think my views are going to resonate with most of our citizens. We are really tired of having to kind of foot the bill, so to speak, as contributing members of society for people who are not, who might be able-bodied and just kind of sucking the life out of our public spaces, our downtown. These are quality of life spaces that should be enjoyed by all of us. And we seem to, at government at all levels, really, because sometimes it's just hard to address, we cater to the people causing the issues. And so this letter, for example, it's like, we can be compassionate to the people in the park all day long, but at what point are we sacrificing the compassion for our citizens, for the people working to make things nice and keep things nice? I think we all agree we want to invest in our city also, but we want to make sure that we can enjoy those places and they're not just getting taken over. So at face value, I would say, without knowing information about closing a park, I'd say, well, that's not really fixing the problem, right? But we have more work to do there. I'm 100% in favor of closing the park right now, because we have to, especially in reference to what's going on at Gray Avenue School, that's appalling. Like, it is so sad and sickening that kids have to see that. And I hope that we all agree on that. And those people need to get out of there. So yeah, I would be in favor of closing the park.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Kirchner.
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager, I like the passion. Thank you, and thank you for grabbing the bulls by the horn, as it were. I think most of us can remember when that park was something other than it is today, and it's unfortunate it's gotten to this point. It seems like it wasn't that long ago where the pickleball fad was starting to gain in popularity, and the group led by an attorney, came to us because they were essentially getting chased out of that park, the pickleball courts. And that was several years ago, and there was some changes made about, I believe they have a pass that they get in there now, and at least that component has been, the problem with the pickleball has been remedied, but as far as the rest of the park is concerned, the city manager mentioned somebody busting up wood. I thought that was only my experience. I was out there a couple years ago helping out with the United Way. We were setting up for a resource fair, and I watched the same thing. And I was trying to understand why anybody would do that on a warm day, but they were doing that with a pallet. And somebody had to go over there and tell them that wasn't acceptable. But it seems like that happens on a daily basis, unfortunately. 139 calls in a 5-month period. That is not sustainable. Something needs to be done. I would argue that what we're doing currently is not working. And by closing a park, I would argue would save lives. If you're having people OD in the bathrooms, and it's just we're up for those, I would argue that we're actually saving lives by taking action. And then lastly, we mentioned the cost being $230,000.
230, give or take.
Okay. So and again, I could see the cost. I could see the cost being offset by PD not having to go out there every day. So I would be in favor of staff's recommendation. I am interested in hearing what our public has to say about this, because again, if there is a magic bullet, as it were, to solve this, I would certainly like to hear that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. First and foremost, I think I want to start by, before we get to public comment, which we desperately want to hear, I try to balance my social media attention because it can sometimes be a rabbit hole and you can get chased by weeds. But there's been a lot of shots taken, a fair amount of shots being taken at our police department in regards to, boy, if they would just do their job, we wouldn't have this problem. I'm hoping today that the people in the room and the people that watch this presentation look at just how much they have been engaged down at Sam Brannan Park in an effort to try to, restore our access, the public's access to this 8.51 acres that is a real asset to this community that has now been turned into something that people shy away from. I myself feel that the police department has done a heck of a job. If we were able to give them or afford more resources, could they do more? Yeah, but I think even the statistics that the chief put up, likely there are other times they're just patrolling. They may not list it as a call, but they're down there paying attention to that place. I know they are because it's a place that has demanded their attention. The problem, challenge, if you will, is balancing public access to an amenity that's within the city. But as the vice mayor says, it's the lawless activity. I'm sympathetic to anyone wanting to go use a park. I'm not sympathetic to someone who's going to go down there and abuse that privilege by doing drugs, harming people, doing things that they should not be doing. We have spent a fair amount of money, and the public has spent a fair amount of money down there. We remodeled the bathrooms, and I can remember sitting here as a councilman going, oh my goodness, we're going to spend this money on redoing the bathroom down there, and what the heck, how long is it going to last before it's trashed? We get to the point where I've been down there for public events and the bathrooms are closed because they've been vandalized. That's our taxpayers' money down there that we're having to spend over and over and over again in an effort just to make sure that there's restroom facilities. I get a fair amount of emails and or phone calls. One in particular I'd share with you from a resident that had just been to our down to City Hall. They wanted to reserve the park. They were a little concerned about having to pay a fee to reserve a park when they didn't know whether or not they'd be able to use the park because they were concerned about whether or not there would be drug activity nearby or violence or what have you. And I'm thinking, this has gone too far. We've gone to a spot now, and the statistics clearly play that out. We've gone to a point where it's not our park anymore. Someone else is running that park, and it's not the people that we really want to run that park. I'm super sympathetic again to the unhoused. You know, I've participated. There are folks in this room, Habitat's in here, Homeless Consortium folks are in here. We've had conversations. We do try to take care of our those folks that are precariously housed or unhoused right now. But again, it's the activity, the lawlessness that I think, and it's time for us to recapture our park. One other thing that hasn't been chatted about yet, and this is something the vice mayor and I have been discussing with the city, is we have some opportunities to repurpose portions of the park. If we take a little pause, a little time out, in 3 months, I think is what we're looking at, beginning September 1st. One of the ideas that we have is due to Caltrans selling land in the south part of Yuba City, we lost, not we, but the foundation lost the dog park. We have an opportunity to repurpose the back part of San Brandon Park and put a dog park back there. And that's something that we're actively taking a look at. How does that help? Activity. Activity in a park of the law-abiding type generally has the consequence of keeping others out. So it's just an option. There's a lot of things we've been talking about. One thing I would like to ask the chief, because this comes up a lot, what about the Boise case? How come you guys can't do anything about that? I think it would be valuable to hear a little bit from your point of view, Chief, what that did or did not do in regards to, our park.
Well, so we're able to enforce those camping ordinances a lot more now. And that, as you can see, with 489 sites this year, we are doing that part. Little more context to that. Out of those 480 sites, I guarantee you can times 5 that many contacts that we've had that we could have written citations. We simply can't cite everyone we come across, nor is that our goal. We believe in spirit of the law. We try to encourage people to get in the right path. And I won't bring him up here, but as Officer Everly can attest to, the ones he starts citing are the ones that are the repeat offenders. I've told you yesterday, now you get the ticket. And then he might do it 2-3 days in a row. Unfortunately, it does take a lot of time sometimes to get those court cases to go and have a return on them, if you will, because they often don't show up to court. Then it turns into a warrant. And oftentimes there's not big consequences the first go around. So it's a lot of work for sometimes little return. And that's not meant to knock our DA's office. It's a lot of work we're giving them. They have a lot of other priorities just like us. But to your point about, camping ordinances at the park, again, our issue is not the nighttime camping there. You're legally allowed to be there during the day. Yes, we can write a camping citation at the park if they're camping. We need some articulable facts to do that, and that's usually not what's happening most times he goes out there. There's usually not a tent. They're usually not sleeping in a sleeping bag. If we catch those at night, we deal with them. It's during the daytime activity that, and every time I go through there, I see the same activity, just hanging out with their stuff. That in and of itself is not going to give us the threshold to give a camping violation.
Thank you for that. Any other comments from the council before we open it up for public comment? All right. We are going to open up for public comment. I do have 4 speaker cards in front of me. I'm going to handle them as they were presented to me. So the first person that I'd like to call to the podium, this isn't the only people that get to talk, but they give us a card, is Donna Johnson. So there's a podium behind. Make sure the green light's on, and love to hear from you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am sad to be here too. I have grown up in the area and visited San Brandon Park many times, many picnics, many family celebrations and so forth, but it is a place that I prefer not to go to anymore. With that, again, I'm Donna Johnston. I'm a Yuba Center off-the-leash dog park visitor for the past 20 years and volunteer and board member for the past 10 years, before it closed earlier this year. As you can likely guess, I'm supportive of an idea of a possible dog park in a portion of San Brandon Park. for the many positives it can bring to any community. Dog parks exemplify the Blue Zone Power 9 principles, particularly natural movement, social connection, and purpose-driven living that improves health outcomes. Dog parks naturally bring people together and encourage responsible pet ownership and a deeper connection to their community. Adding a dog park back into the city of Yuba City would fill a much-needed void for dogs and their parents that the closure of the dog park created. Dogs, again, will receive much-needed exercise, socialization, and a reconnection with their four-legged friends. I live by the old park, and my dogs will still let me know that I am going in the wrong direction on our walks when I turn the corner making a right, and they want me to go left. It's a daily part of their lives and something that is a deep loss to the dogs as well as the owners in the community. Regular use by the responsible dog owners at San Brandon, as the mayor mentioned, will also create more eyes on the park, discouraging vandalism and undesirable behavior. Responsible dog owners are just that. They're very responsible. They license their dogs. They vaccinate their dogs. They take a good care of their dogs, and they want the environment that they are exercising their dogs in to be clean and clear of any issues whatsoever. So with that, the Yuba Center Off-Leash Dog Park Board is willing to offer our expertise if your decision is a positive one to close the park and entertain this idea of adding a dog park to the end of it. And I do have some other representatives from the Off-Leash Dog Park here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Next up is Tom Barnes, be followed by Linda Baker.
Yeah, I've lived in Yuba City for nearly 40 years, and I've seen the park go downhill, San Brandon Park go downhill, and I share the concerns, and I endorse the recommendations. I've been on the board of the Off-the-Leash Dog Park for about 9 years, and primarily functioning to conduct maintenance in the park. So in doing that, I was at the park 5-6 times a week for 2 or 3 hours each time, and I got to know most of the dog owners there, and as well as a lot of the dogs. And the people who came to our dog park, for them, it was a very important addition to their quality of life, and they formed their own community. And I think if we could continue that in the city, that would really be a benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Baker, followed by Lauren Buckland.
I'm here to learn more about this proposal, but I admit I arrive wondering what this will really accomplish. It feels like offering someone an aspirin when they have cancer. The pain goes away for a while, but the disease doesn't. What do you project will happen to the folks currently occupying the park when you lock it up? I see them rolling their stolen grocery carts a few blocks to the east or north to other parks, or if they've got vehicles, driving down to Gaucher Park. We are in this situation because these individuals have occupied the park, making it undesirable to most of us. I suggest we occupy the park and make it undesirable to them. Hooray for a dog park. Get more activity. The city could schedule more functions there. Use the park. Don't surrender. And have a workable plan for those currently occupying the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Buckland, please.
First off, I'm a teacher at Gray Avenue. I'm going to throw it out there. It's kind of obvious I got Blue Jays all over here. I've been there for 4 years. I'm a 6th grade teacher. We use San Brandon Park at the end of the year for our end of the year activities. We take about 200 students over. And I will absolutely say that there are people sleeping in our parks. We request Sutter County Probation and Yuba City Police Department, or SROs, to come help clear the park, and they begrudgingly come help us and show up late and roll out of bed to come clear the park of needles and drug paraphernalia and move the homeless back so that we can use the kids' space. The covered structure does not typically look like that. We don't go clean it up ahead of time, but it doesn't look like that when we arrive. So maybe that sometimes, but not all the times. We do have vagrants who jump our fences. They don't just come from the park, they come from every side. So putting a fence around the park isn't gonna stop them. They are going to come from the school side. They build fires on our campus. They sleep in cabinets that have been left outside for disposal. They leave blankets. They steal students' clothing off our ramps. It goes on and on. This isn't something that building a fence or closing a park is gonna end. This is a problem that we have allowed to continue. And yes, I know our police work hard, but let me tell you, on my way to school every morning at 7:30, there's 2 of them, window to window, sitting behind Veterans Hall. There's one sitting in our Gray Avenue parking lot before it's on construction at night, just sitting in their cars talking. They could be at our park walking and talking. They could be at our park addressing people who are in it, not sitting in their cars. So there's room for improvement. There's room for us to take an extra step in addressing these problems. This is a park that our community has paid for. People who live here have paid for this park, and to take it away, yes, I understand closing it temporarily is one thing, but to fence it and restrict access and require people to come to City Hall or to the senior center to pay for a card to use a facility, people are just gonna stop using it. It's too much. You're restricting access and taking away something we've already paid for and making us pay again. Yes, even though maybe they'll get it back. It's just adding too many restrictions to things that we should have. Net 5 was dissolved. Where is our Yuba City Police Department officer who was on that team? What are they doing now? We're talking about drugs in our parks. We have our homeless liaison, but what about our person who was serving on Net 5? What are they doing? Because yes, there are pieces of tape taped under the tables. They hold up the syringes, the drugs. The bathrooms, that just makes it an easy place for them to hide and congregate. Lock them. Make it hard for them to be there. Turn on lights. Instead of cameras, one, who's gonna watch the cameras? You have to pay someone to do that. And then how are you gonna go find these people? What are you gonna do, right? So light it up. That park is dark. You can't see the back when you're driving by. Put some lights out there so we can see it from the road. Because if you can see it, they're not gonna wanna be there. Lock up the bathrooms. Don't make it so easy for them to be there. I find this as a reactive approach, and we really need to be proactive. Hands of Hope is right down the road. We hand out food at Kmart. San Brandon Park is a centralized location.
Can you wrap up your comments?
For those people to get all those things. So we're making it easy for them to be there. Make it harder.
Thank you. All right, that's the last of the speaker cards, but we certainly have the opportunity to provide other comment if people would like to go to the podium. Just need your name, sir.
Hello, my name is Joel Harris. I think one of the major things that need to be addressed is you have California Recovery Center within 500 feet of Gray Avenue School. It's on Spiva, and every day I go play pickleball. The homeless are lined up, sleeping on the sidewalk on Spiva Avenue. All the vehicles that are loaded with their belongings are parked in front of that California Recovery Center before I go there, and then they migrate to San Brandon Park. Like I said, I don't know what kind of business they're recovery, but all the homeless are there, and then they migrate to San Brandon. It's like I said, it's within 500 feet of a school. So, and I think that business should be relocated. It'd take, instead of them coming over here, maybe they'll stay somewhere else. So, that center is, I don't know what they do, but that's where all the homeless people come from, on Spiva Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, hi.
Hi. My name is Donnie DeLea Broughton, and I am hired by Rexon Park to run pickleball. And so the pickleball tournaments that we put on, I'm in charge of those. I just want to clarify something. There is not a code to get into the courts. Anybody can get into the courts. So there is a code on the door handle, but there is no code. So access to the pickleball courts is to anybody. So we get pickleball players, of course, but then we also get people in there that are not very nice to our courts and our nets. And when we go to play, there's been times where dogs have attacked some of us walking in from the homeless. We have had things thrown over the fence at us. I think that's been addressed from the skate park, but that did happen. There's fires always in the pits, and it stinks. And anyways, the courts are not clean, but just to put in perspective, we have 6 pickleball courts, and I can guarantee you almost every night there is 40 to 50 people out there that are trying to play pickleball. It brings in a lot of positive to the community. A lot of kids come, a lot of adults. And so we would like to continue to play pickleball. So as far as closing the park, I don't know what that looks like, but we would like a place to play that is safe. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
Mayor and City Council members, thank you for this opportunity. John Buckland. I own a business at 901A Spiva. I'm right next door to Hands of Hope. You speak of feces in a park. It's all over that neighborhood, okay? It's not just centralized to that. If we disperse that group anywhere else into the city, that just migrates out into other people's problems because it's not being currently addressed to a level that it should be. Our officers at Yuba City Police Department are doing an awesome job. I haven't had anybody sleep in front of my business in probably a month, but I had to put up extra lights. So the comments about extra lighting in your park would be one of the objectives I think that you ought to be looking at. As soon as I put up lights, I don't have any more sleeping. But it does provide illumination for where they can urinate and defecate in front of my business. So it doesn't discourage that activity. Hands of Hope is a great resource in our community. It just doesn't belong next to Gray Avenue School. It never has. It's grown into a festering problem that all of that migrates over to the park. So we need to work in conjunction with that group. We need to continue to look for a resource to be able to put them into. There's been attempts in this town. They've been kind of pushed back, but I think that's really one of the key components that we need to look at as a community and push you as a council towards resolving that issue. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Val.
Hi, I'm Valerie Martin. I've been living in Yuba City most of my life since 8th grade. We had our 8th grade graduation at Gray Avenue Pool. And I've been playing pickleball from day one. I was part of the effort to build pickleballs on the court there. And I've been playing 3-4 times a week for the last 9 years. We were part of the group that got the new restrooms, which were beautiful, which we no longer use. I've seen so many things happening in that park. It's very disturbing. I've witnessed drug deals. I've witnessed dog attacks. I've witnessed people attacks. And all this, not to mention the drug deals and the constant marijuana smoke. And that's just the mornings. I don't even play in the evenings anymore at all. So we're on board. We want our park cleaned up, but we don't want it closed. We want to still have access to it. There's got to be a solution. We're on board. Everyone agrees that it's a problem. And we want to help. But we don't want to be locked out of our courts either. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Kim Presser, and I also play pickleball at the park. My kids play pickleball at the park. And a couple years ago, I quit taking my youngest to the skate park because of the dangers there. I take them all the way to Live Oak for that. I have a concern about closing the park. Maybe I'm not understanding the concept, but what's to stop a homeless person from buying that $20 pass and just hanging out in the park all day? I am trying to understand that part. The bathrooms are a huge problem. You do have a city worker who is there super early in the morning to clean them, and he does a phenomenal job. They look brand new in the mornings. But the rest of the day, after the first hour or two, they're unusable. I can tell you a story of when I really had to go, and I couldn't get into the bathrooms, and they were locked for a long time because people were in there doing who knows what. And another pickleballer said, well, I just opened the door to my car and I go right there. I don't want to do that at a public park. I want to be able to use the bathroom. So it's a huge issue. But I do have a concern about the passes, how that's going to work.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Ernstam. Thank you for putting this on so we can all come and talk to you. We love the pickleball courts. I'm telling you that when you come out there in the evenings or in the mornings, you're going to see people that are moving that haven't moved in 20 years. And so I am so grateful that you have a commitment to keeping that park open and doing whatever you have to do to deal with the homeless. We can all agree that that's an issue, but 100%, we are here to advocate for making sure that you give this community a great opportunity to keep moving, and your pickleball does that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? How about online?
I have one online, actually, and I'll read it. It's Rick from Hands of Hope. He said, I am for this closure for the safety and preservation of our beautiful park that I have utilized for decades, but as a homeless service provider, we have fallen woefully short of addressing that issue. It is a community that stands together who grows together. For those who will not take advantage of offered services, then they need to face the repercussions of those decisions. For those who do, we can assist and guide them back into society. For those who don't, you're not going to like my suggestion. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and those who do not want services usually will not change their minds, so they need to move on to southern spaces. And that's the only comment or hand raised.
Thank you. Mr. Nicoletti.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilman. Thank you for mentioning Habitat. I just want to mention back that we promise to be the best part of the solution that we can be. We'll just bring our best efforts and work together with Chief and staff to try to be a part of that in a way that we can, that maybe fills the gaps on their stuff as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Sandy Drown. Can you guys hear me? Or can you see me? Can you see me? Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay. I'm just trying to make a little light. I know this has been some great dialogue today. So my husband and I have a business down in beautiful Yuba City, downtown Yuba City. And I first want to just address for PD. If you go on social media and you see a lot of the comments, I just want to tell Yuba City PD, Jim, and your team that you guys have, as a business owner downtown, we appreciate all your hard work, and we know that there are times that in this situation that we're talking about, that your hands are tied. And it is a society issue. It's not a law issue. And so we used to do our 4th of July parties at Sam Brennan from 2018 to 2023. And the last 2 years, we were watching lots of behavior go on. And we stopped because we started seeing, we were calling PD, I think it was 4 times that day, over some fighting that was going on. We do this party for our employees. They have their kids there. And it was really frustrating to watch that I'm now having to be like the mother hen to make sure that these kids are protected. But the activity just got worse and worse and worse. So of course, in 2024, we moved it to a different park, and we've not had those same encounters. But I think the big picture that I am trying to understand as I kind of get involved in this, I try to stay off social media. I kind of do my dosages of it, is the school. And there, we've got children there. And so I've got my children that live here. I have 5 grandchildren that live here. And the activity that I would be appalled if I had a park next to my grandkids' school, that there was this kind of activity. And so I'm just trying to understand that this has been a problem for a long time, but I'm also trying to understand like where I feel like that should be a big focus that we're talking about is the children, right? We should be protecting our children. And so I'm trying to understand if there's an opportunity or how do you fix the park? But I just don't think that like the big picture is that we're focusing on our children, right? The children should not be exposed to any of that behavior, and that should not be normalized. And I guess that's the thing I keep on going back to is why are we normalizing this activity with our kids? And I've been to Gray Avenue because my grandkids play there, and you can see that there is, when I park over on the other side, I make my grandkids wait on the school campus because I'm not going to let them walk with me to my car over at the park because I'm nervous about the activity. So I'd rather me be exposed to it than watch my grandkids have to be around that. So thank you for your time, Council and Mayor.
Thank you. One last time for the online. Okay.
None.
Anybody else in the audience? Okay. A couple things. Yes?
If I may.
Sure.
Hi. My name is Carrie Klein, born and raised in Yuba City. I remember when Sam Brannon, we had the pool and we would have our 8th grade party there. That was cool, huh? And I am very sad about our dog park closure earlier this year. I'm very disappointed in Caltrans' decision to sell that land. But I do understand all of this from everyone's perspective because I've been homeless. And for a period of time, I used to work for a church in Marysville that directly helped the homeless. And there's really not a lot of services in this area that will help them get on their feet, have clean water to drink, a place to use the restroom, or sleep. We don't have enough facilities. And I know Hands of Hope and the consortium and a lot of the local churches, they're doing the best they can, but we do need to come up with some kind of solution that will help the people that want the help. That said, as a member of the community and someone who takes my special needs child to that park for Special Olympics, it freaks me out. I don't know how to explain that to my child that's 30 years old but functions at a 5-year-old level, what he's seeing. I don't know how to explain to him how to stay away from people that you don't talk to those people. It's a whole nother level of how do I be compassionate without endangering my child. I think for me to close the park temporarily to get some kind of measures in place is a good idea. Construction of a fence, and certainly not just a chain link fence. It's going to have to be there's going to have to be something more than a chain link fence. And as one other person was mentioning, to come to city council during the day when a lot of us work to get this key card or whatever, that's not going to be super accessible to those of us who are, contributing individuals. So I don't have any immediate solutions other than, yes, please. We need a dog park, and yes, please, we need to close it, and yes, please, we need to find someplace else for the homeless to go. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Stevens. I don't live by Sam Brannon Park, but I do live in an area that is a transient highway, you might say. I live over by the levee, and over the last few years, I've come to just call the transient drug addict human cockroaches because of all the trash that they leave behind. They destroy our neighborhood. They steal stuff from our property. Have to call the police all the time, it seems like, and there's always a fire over the levee. But basically, you have a cockroach problem. And if you have a cockroach problem in your house, what do? Maybe go get a can of Raid, call an exterminator. You don't say, I'm not going to step on this cockroach. So you need to get rid of the cockroaches.
Thank you. Last call. Savannah, last call. Okay. Couple things. I think that, number one, there's been several references to lighting. If the staff report includes an attachment that outlines some of the expenses, lighting's part of that. I think we understand that fixing the current lighting and upgrading the lighting definitely is a deterrent. So that's been included in the plan. I know that our city manager has met with Doreen Asumi, the superintendent. Robert, I don't know if you want to share anything about her observations. I think it might be appropriate at this time.
Yeah, I think Doreen, on behalf of Yuba City Unified, was very empathetic of what we're going through. She sees that, her staff sees that, and her administrators over at Gray Avenue. Those comments that you saw earlier were just a brief summary of what Doreen Asumi passed along to me. So those were her comments.
Appreciate that. Comments made in regards to access to cards, well taken. I think that we'll take a look at that as we continue to develop and fine tune implementation if this is approved in regards to making sure that those folks who are working have a reasonable opportunity to get the card. There was a good question raised in regards to who can buy the card. I don't know that I have that answer today, but I'm sure it's one that we will continue to explore and come up with, because obviously we want to, if we're going to temporarily close the park, and I don't believe that includes the pickleball courts. I don't believe that includes the bocce ball courts, as the city manager talked about. It's just restricting access is what we're trying to do, and on a temporary basis. As far as fencing the park, there are some other good reasons to fence a park too, right? You don't want kids running out into traffic. Gray Avenue's a busy place. You don't want your other things going on. So I don't think it's unreasonable to consider that as an option as well. Just my opinion. And I give it back to the council for any further comments before we take action.
Good Mayor.
Yeah.
I was glad to hear that Hands of Hope is a reality check on what's actually going on in the world. That's refreshing to me. I am concerned, though, that the lack of school participation. I think the principal of that school should have been here at this meeting, not one of his staff members. That concerns me. It's kind of so I think school participation with us in conjunction, I think, is very important in the future, as well as the mayor made the point about coordinating of how you can get those cards. I think that's very important as well. But with that, that's my last of my comments, sir.
Through the mayor.
Yep.
I'll just say I appreciate every single person's comment, and I think all of you had something really insightful and beneficial to add to this potential process that we're going through. I don't need to speak to any of them specifically, but I appreciate it a lot. Like, there's a little bit of community involvement can do a lot. And so thank you for being here.
Yes, no, maybe so.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
My comments to the pickleballers, good for you. Yeah, thanks for showing up. I'd like to thank the whole community for showing up. Those that were supposed to be here, those who chose to be here. But that's pickleball is cool, right? I get it, and you guys are out there 7 days a week, pretty much sun up to sundown. It's an amenity. It's an absolute amenity, and we need to encourage that. And we don't want people having to go to the bathroom next to their car because they're afraid to use the facilities that are designed for that. But thanks for showing up, and hopefully this will be as the least intrusive in your activity out there, and we can come to a solution. And this is also for the dog park folks. I'm really glad that we were able to pivot on that, because believe me, we heard a lot of with the situation out there at Shanghai with Caltrans when that happened. I get it. I'm a pet owner myself. I totally get it. So, but thank you all for participating today. Thank you.
Final comments before action. Yeah, it's great to have folks in the audience participating, and the comments, all of them are I think we really appreciate hearing that. I do want to mention Councilmember Shaw would have been here. He's experiencing some medical conditions, unable to attend, and so that's why he's absent. I know he wanted to be here for this particular item. So with that, bring it back to the council for action.
Mr. Mayor, before you do that, may I?
Absolutely.
2 minutes. I wanted to thank the folks for being here today too. And I wanted to reassure all of you that over the past several months that we've been looking at this in earnest and looking at solutions, it has been a complete system-wide approach. It's not the police department. It's not the city manager's office. It's not public works. It's not community development. It's not community services. All of those, it's everybody. And we have all sat around the table to try and find the best solutions. Those solutions that are put forward today, if you think they're perfect and they're going to end up being perfect and that's the only solution, absolutely wrong. We know that. And whether it's your home, personal life, or your business that you're working in or own or an employee or whatever, nobody's perfect. We're all going to stumble, and then we just stand back up, we correct it, and we move forward with another solution. I don't know of anybody that does local government perfect or anybody that does personal lives perfect. So we're going to try our damnedest, though. And I got to tell you, you've been getting from your executive team here at the city, as well as staff, putting forward an incredible effort to make sure we make this safer. Do we have all the best ideas? No. But in a lot of the phone calls we've made, we've gotten some great ideas from the community. And that's what a good community local government partnership is about. So I can tell you that even the amenities there, we want to protect those. But the type of fencing is not a chain link fence. And staff will recall early in those meetings, I said it will not look janky. It will not, period, end of discussion. It is going to look nice. And the fencing that we'll put up will be 8 foot tall. It's not 6 foot tall. And it'll look nice. And does it cost a little bit more? Yes. But what price can you put on community safety and the aesthetics of a community? And it's the same way with it's a temporary closure. We'll continue to evaluate. And if we can restore San Brandon to its greatness, then open the gates, right? We'll still have the fencing there, but maybe we open them up later. That's really a council decision at the end of the day, but we've got to monitor and make sure that we put the right things in place and modify them along the way. Last thing I would say or a couple things, I worked with a private business here related to pickleball, and I went to high school here at Yuba City with the owner of the Racket Club, and I said, hey, if we run into a little bit of a mess with our construction schedule and it's hard for people to move in and out, is there any way maybe we can work with the pickleball courts you have and the folks that play and some type of special deal where they can just come play there? And he said, absolutely open to those discussions. So we reached out to private, and yeah, I mean, so it's not just we're thinking about closing a park and putting a lock on it. We were really trying to make an effort here and work with the community, again, all in the interest of safety of our residents, our children at school next door, et cetera. And I too was like Mrs. Drown had said, when I heard of some of the comments, I don't look at that stuff, but I heard about some of the comments from our police department, I was appalled that people would think that about our police department, who have less resources than they've had in years, but they're still doing a bang-up job to try and keep our community in a better place. So absolutely offensive as far as I'm concerned, and I used to do that for a living. So, and lastly, to our employees, they didn't sign up for this. Our parks workers didn't sign up to take bottles of hazardous material. You get when I mean hazardous material. They have to grab that stuff and dispose of it. They have to smell it, they have to see it, they have to touch it, and that is constant. They didn't sign up for that. And we shouldn't subject them to that. So that and a million other reasons, again, sorry for my soapbox and passionate. Yeah, I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations in the city, and it's a great trust that they bestow on me, and I've got to look out for those employees, but also look out for our residents too. So I maybe just had to get that off my chest, Mayor, so thanks for letting me do that. I'll stop now. By the way, was it Gray Avenue School you went to? Barry had better parties, I'm just saying.
Okay. 5 cents for the therapy. All right. All right, back to the council.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Like to take action on item 2, approve the temporary closure of San Brandon Park effective September 1st, authorize city manager or designate maintenance necessary. Budget transfers of up to $265,000 in order to fund remediation and improvements of San Brandon Park.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Vice Mayor Pasquale, second by Councilmember Cole. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed with nay? Any abstentions? Hearing none, item number 2 passes unanimously. And again, thank you everyone for coming and giving us your comments and your thoughts, and please continue to do so. Future agenda items. Any items for a future agenda? All right. Reports and communications, anything that anybody wants to say that they haven't said already? All right. With that, then we will call this meeting closed and adjourn.